welcome back to another Tea and Anime Tuesday. In this episode, we're going to be looking at a grossly underrated anime that you all need to see right now, A Place Further Than the Universe, or Sora yori Tooi Basho. The almighty algorithm brought you to this video. Hi, I'm Sarah, an anime and game translator. Every once in a while, I review an anime series with tea. So A Place Further Than the Universe, or Sora yori Tooi Basho. It is such a good anime series. I'm not exaggerating when I say, like, seeing this series restored my faith in anime. Let's get into the anime itself. No spoilers ahead. Our story starts with Kimari. That's not her real name. It's like the last syllable of her surname attached to Mari, which is her real name. But everybody calls her Kimari, so I will just call her Kimari. Incidentally, Kimari means to decide something. So that's kind of a cute little wordplay going on there. But that's actually been one of her problems in her life, is she decides, like, I want to do this exciting, adventurous thing, but then she always chickens out at the last minute. How many people can relate to that? Yeah, she was going through her notes in her room one day. It was all messy, and she found that she'd made a list of like things that she wants to do in high school, and you know, she wrote that she wanted to ditch school and have an adventure, and the last thing was like seishun no suru, and seishun is like, it's one of those things that doesn't translate super well into English. It means like the golden years of your youth, sort of. And like, if you turn it into a verb, it means like, oh, it means so many things. Like, it often means like to have a teen romance, but it really just means to live life to the fullest, but as a teenager. It's like, live your teenage life to the fullest, because do things as a teenager that you can only do as a teenager, and do that to the fullest. That's kind of what it means. And she cries because she's like, I haven't done any of that. I'm wasting my years just being an average high school student. And she decides that she wants to make a big change. And meanwhile, she has her very level-headed friend from childhood, Megumi, who keeps, you know, trying to be the voice of reason. And it's like, okay, just don't get too crazy, you know, try to stay grounded. And then she comes across this girl named Shirase, who is an outcast at school because she is obsessed with Antarctica and going there. And the reason why she's obsessed with Antarctica and going there is because her mom went missing in Antarctica a few years ago. And through a chance encounter, Shirase and Kimari get together and decide that they're going to try to go to Antarctica together. This means getting part-time work, and Kimari meets a cute girl, Hinata, at her part-time work, who joins in on the plan. And then, I'm not going to spoil how or why, but a fourth girl, who is a rich child actress, joins their team as well. So that's the basic premise. The overall, you know, plot, I suppose, of the series is 4 teenage girls trying to make it to Antarctica. Something that's pretty unprecedented. Usually, you know, scientists or adults at the very least go to Antarctica, not teenagers. And that brings me to one of the big things that I love about this series. Has nothing to do with anime, has nothing to do with the girls or even the plot of this anime itself, but Antarctica. I've always been very interested in Antarctica since an early age. We had the Encyclopedia Britannica set, and I remember like poring over the article on Antarctica in there. I just thought it was really fascinating. But then I thought it was even more fascinating when years later on Netflix I saw a documentary about the people who actually live in Antarctica. And what was fascinating about it was not focusing on the scientists that are in Antarctica doing, you know, studies and research, but it was focusing on all the non-scientists that live in Antarctica. And if you think about it, yeah, there have to be some non-scientists there because they need people to clean the toilets, they need people to cook food, they need people to do maintenance on, you know, the snowcats and the other vehicles, they need people to sell things at the stores that they have there. You guys can't see, but there's like 3 cats on the bed with me right now. But yeah, there are non-scientists that live in Antarctica. And if that documentary is still on Netflix, you totally need to check it out. So that's one component that I really loved about the series, is it's about Antarctica, something that I have always been very interested in anyway. But ultimately, the show is not about girls going to Antarctica. It's about what happens to them as friends and what happens to them as young women coming of age. And this tea is Ahmed Tea's Peach and Passion Fruit Tea, and it is so good. I have an affiliate link in the description if you want it. It's a black tea with passion fruit and peach flavoring. It actually tastes like peaches and passion fruit, and it's so good. And I'm eating with it these meringue nut cookies that I invented. If you're interested in cooking and stuff, I have a food channel, and I also have a food Facebook page where I actually posted this very cookie recipe. They're gluten-free too, incidentally. And this is my cat, Hermione. So the older I get and the more I analyze stories that I like and stories that work, and the more I look at why they work, it always comes down to relationships. It comes down to how the characters relate to one another. I like it when characters make choices that are driven by their personalities or by their feelings for another character or their relationship dynamic with another character. I like it when their choices are driven by those things rather than driven by just the plot. And this series really has that. Through these girls who have very different personalities, which is a typical shoujo anime trope, but through their different personalities, you see the different friendship dynamics, the different forms that friendship can take. And it's very relatable, and at the same time, it's also very educational in a way. It really helps you reflect on what friendship is and your friendships that you have had in your life. And it also really helps you reflect on times when you have been a bad friend, because there's so many instances in this series of friends being bad friends, or, you know, friends that never really were friends to begin with being bad friends, but there's also instances of actual friends being bad friends to their friends, and how they reconcile, how they don't reconcile, what happens, how that affects things. It's great. So many good friendship studies in this series. And not just the younger girls, but the older women that are also on this expedition to Antarctica with them. It touches into their friendships. And I said friendship so many times in this so far, and that's going to lead into the other thing that I really, really liked about this series. There was hardly any romance in it at all. So it seems strange for a shoujo anime, or an anime that, like, you know, where the girls are main characters. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not against romantic stories. I'm not against stories that have a romantic angle to them. I just feel like they're often just kind of thrown in there as like, well, we're obligated to have a romance in here because girls are main characters, so here's a romance. And I just really appreciated that the four main young girl characters, no romance whatsoever. No mention of it, like, nothing. I loved it. I think that's just so incredibly refreshing, because it helped you focus on the friendships, and it helped you focus more on the girls' personal character arcs, their own personal growth that they all go through, because you don't have these romances getting in the way. Now, don't get me wrong, you can show personal growth, you can show maturity through a romance, and you can show a friendship through a romance as well. But I think it's just been done so many times that it's just so refreshing when you finally see a shoujo anime or an anime that features a bunch of girls that does not have romance. Incidentally, if you're into the Bechdel test, this thing passes it with flying colors. There's tons of women, tons of female characters. In fact, most, I'd say like 85–90% of the characters, both main and like walking by characters, are female. There are hardly any male characters in here with significant number of lines. And then most of the time these girls talk to each other, they're not talking about romance or men. There is one episode where a male crew member has a crush on one of the female crew members, but it doesn't go that far, and that's not the main focus of the episode. And then there's another hint of a romantic relationship between one of the characters on screen and another character that is referenced in the series a lot, but not ever on screen. Other than that, there's really no romance at all, which I love. I mean, I guess I'm also just really cynical because I translate romantic otome games most of the time for a living, so it's just really nice for me to finally see a story about girls that does not have romance. And as far as the personal growth thing goes, each of the young girls who goes on this expedition and the other young girl who does not go on the expedition, they have individual character arcs where you see them at the beginning of the story having problems with their relationships in some way because of some character flaw that through the story they overcome by the end. Even though Kimari technically is the main character and Shirase technically is a secondary main character, I consider this more an ensemble cast story where each of the younger girls and even the older women has a story. Characters are flawed, and it's not just for the sole purpose of, hey, see, she's not a Mary Sue, I gave her a flaw. This is her flaw. She's a klutz. There are less superficial flaws than that, and more, you know, real genuine flaws of, I close myself off to people. because this thing happened in my past or whatever. But then through these experiences, I learned to not close myself off to people. Or maybe my flaw is I get jealous very easily because of this problem that I have, and then I recognize it and I overcome it. It's a very wholesome series with genuine morals. It is told through the eyes of younger girls, so children and children might be a little too young for this series, but teenagers can enjoy the series and grown adults can enjoy the series. And I also think that while it does have anime tropes, it doesn't fall into a lot of the pitfalls that anime series have. I think this is also a great gateway anime series for non-anime fans. If you have that friend who keeps on resisting anime, like, anime's so stupid, show them this series. Don't show them Naruto or whatever, show them this series. I think this is a great series to get people warmed up to anime who otherwise wouldn't be that interested in it. Yes, you still have the overreactions, you still have some of the tropes, it still technically falls under the cute girls doing cute things genre. It is an honest-to-goodness good story with great characters, great relationships, and I hope that you all go watch it, like, right now if you haven't already seen it. It is available on Crunchyroll for streaming, and the translation is pretty good. I usually watch the subtitles when I watch anime just to see how other translators translate things. The only problem I have, honestly, is the title. I think A Place Further Than the Universe is not at all catchy and sounds kind of weird. I think Beyond the Stars or Beyond the Sky would have been a much better translation, but otherwise, very well done. Speaking of translations, look out for my English cover of the theme song, The Girls Are Alright. If it's been a while since I posted this video, it's probably already up somewhere on my channel. Or you can let the almighty algorithm guide you there. Bye!